jone jeso dra kurdo kanto mambe chi je jeso da indunje jenje lamjere jeso guru bem sede wo lo jeso ndro var jenje Labdo zoje lando ndro bara jenje labdo zo landro baz lando zo ndro ba yeshe zo jar jenje labdo zo page 12 Ingwazan da zengara jere zembe magara jemaniyo Suzu numnyadir de jaza zo gadir lamana Zuwa inde damze namro jojo deje Bima ngajun jabjan jenze wan bero ngana lodre daye Jire se wan gajan doje za yaba zaye jodro ze wan Yudren droba ze wan lubun de jeze yandro ganjan ratnaj Namye Rungaradama Ratne Janzo Zana Soga Dharma Pame Jenla Ratna Jere Dan Bema Ngona Samden Janzo Naje Darjen Chime Doje Za Sunjo Droba Sanga Rembo Wanjo Dorje Nanda Zewan Zen Jamgan Lame Jezo Jenze Nelo Ngajo Ujen Zewan Roza Lama Sirede Jigube Tse Sode Tuje Jela Dromye Nganjuru Jo Tuzo sanje ganje ngobo nye razen chego ngozon ten Sabe lame javla sawa ende chanza wada cheche shabwa Jizo yera goshe zawa yegewa chunze dage je Tamje dage jan Zaje Beje Joje Medodan Rera Leje Nyede Yamband Sanje Shendo Medembo Vayen Droga Namda Jumbar Jo Yedan Ratna Mandra Kaniriya Daya Me Zemje Nanje Sambada Loye Jeda Jedar Chejan Teman Deba Cheje Golo Gordo
Tamke toje shajere sotron shenje medob doje bonjomba serjo lombo tabo jebe ko shaje jabe shabla seje ko Ome chuje je podane tosum sanje konje ngoni ransum choko ngosum ta zaba zavela me shabla solwante Konjo topo vore chinji lo, zeden cheche charavasare chi, dalu dimo mumba rapsan. Kata tenju shonlo topa ye lo topa benawa tsaldu, solo kanse tawaran tevam, chusin tewaran tene. Gombo jame chenye ne keme paraya thawara sho, nomulhaye keta ludanu shike, trumbab dada me kenam. Doa kunje dage che zamba tamje ke do dage che tento. 내가 털도 군도 팬바데 잠년지 찬수산도 돈이 또 따와인 바래 대답게 내가 다 땡도 팬토 라는메바 여반 대답게 셰천들 장행 용용다 도난치게 용용 장행 용용 주마도 메바래 대좀 쓰지나 다시 난 거래
The source of all temporary and ultimate benefit and happiness is love and compassion, bodhicitta, the wisdom that realizes emptiness, this view. This brings about happiness immediately, and it also brings about lasting happiness, ultimate, unsurpassed, lasting happiness. And yet there are not so many people who really learn about that. There are very few who are really truly interested in that. Why? That's actually something that we should think about and investigate.
좀생 가리래. 로아 메티 짱바요래. 셰자르비 내라. 장바체라. 더바요래. 이는 셰자 시버체베게 내 탐지지 나는 최초도 줄 풀도 좋아. 천대다 철압군도 펜바. 담배 취할 도나 미워하다. 몇 줌치 가래. 들어가지 잡아요. 저거래. 뒤 줌센티 레지 잡아래. 레지 촉거래. 담배 취할 투성 검som 샤마 영화 잡아라. 저왕 달라. 촉개와 전부지 싸. 젠만람 상부지 따발라 마도 밀루 림보치 생한테 도고 말해. 밀루 림보치 생한테 마톱나 담배추 깔바다 마덴 말해. 대소상 알아서 간가 가고야 돼. 가지고 루든 밀루 림보치 라베 lakbe 루톱도요. 륜데 배주 양보다 그래. 렉나 탈베 주신 륜데 녀나 냐르베 띵도 륜데 르샤타시 풍본데 종왕안에 아주 야샤바르 밤에 코타케 시체 종왕안랑 아주 야샤바르 야샤바들 약항사바르 등암쯤마도인데 양판 종왕알 파 팀도 그래 파 떼고 그래 파 팀도 그래 대값을라 메타와당 축감반 나시 아주 종왕안도게 풍본데 식마탁 옥체마탁 등 종왕아게 이렇게 풍부대 딱 어룰도 그래. 냠도 그래. 배영 그래. 신도 내자 팅하러 왔다. 배쭉 들어봤다. 양아 왔다. 직소로 왔다. 차로 그래. 근데 매번 조금 소시하래. 제가 너 대당 냠도 남벌 셔바태양. 축 한번 더고 메타와 대반다고 남벌 셔바태 잘파 찍도야요. 매도야요나 최체과에 좀 정요 말해. 최생인데 주말에 되네. 최생인데 주말에라 최체바테 되메벨 내가 퇴바치래. 되메벨 내가 퇴바치. 때 치와생인데 루시와라마데 셈시요 말해. 셈시게 매바 sonsa 라리아 셈티게 루덴랭 거다. 루덴렌도 루덴 간데지 랭요. 녀봐요. 루텐 간데치 렘멜레 나랑 그라라 요라마 수이라라 요마 산지게 차라 요마 라메 락바다 가와가 산지 좀 된데 툭자와 치고 툭니지 치고 슈 샤랍 치고 되게 장 말아서 루텐 상사를 야제 되게 넣어봐요 말 루텐 간데치 렘멜레 나랑 락라 요다 대송사 안주 천디 유질 도리 천대게 세그 내말 짱 된다는 것도 몇째 제일 되나 전로도 찍고 그래 전로게 천대 이치들라 그런 내말 사동체 전로게라 그래 마치 배 전로 카시에다 지우게 창된서 인정제 보셔라서 그래 세사마 초라를 혼자 캐봐요 내가 좀 아주 메티 진짜서 낙실을 땅토는 땅샤나 메시게도 시도 아주 밀레 밤부 버스 들어도 짱거요 세건 내말 초로 잡으려 콘트 상부 짱봐야 해. 집어야 콘트 세방야 콘트 집어. 사주 통조라서 전대 콘트 집어 지내야 돼. 맞아. 사주 통조 주 반절 가지라나 셈대 셈생한테 내가 가야요. 내가 가야면 셈 집어야 말이야. 더든 가세 유연해야 셈그 친이라 내가 첨번 동안 내가 몇셈 집어야. 더 집어서 가려요 봐대 촉신을 집어야. 촉신에서 가르치셔래. 최배 촉신 신경을 촉신 신의 최배 셈을 집어야. 직전 밖에 촉신경을 말이 촉 마셔 봐서 같이 유연해 셈 집어야. 같이 막나 뒤지긴 명함 처리 차도된 렌스 요주다. 명함도 처리 친로요. 잠불에 차상왕 두는 잠불에 현다지 유지를 삼 양 동업 제스기를 된들 때네 되는 아주 루데 약고쳐 토바대바다 뭐 트라니 갈치슈 때 메시터라다요 말 메시스인데 신도 내자 야브라카와 니네 된쳐볼 라는 바바 산지 공부하는 거 톱톱이 루데 마체 베게 탐에 탐마텔랑 아주 내송송 그 루데는 마치와지 따지고 남바 산지 비기 제순죽 서비 젤 아주 탐에 탐마텔레 욱 체마타도 열외나라 마치와지 약함 좁지 강요로 하죠 이다 그 루데는 마치와지 둔도 그 루데는 마치와지 따팅 아주 탐에 탐마텔 또 진짜 아주 둑토로 맞다 팅 아주 메시지 오늘 전에 돌아치 뭐지 할 레벨 믹 여기 양을 처음 봤다 믹 롱한 양을 처음 봤는데 카리 믹 롱고 양 맞춤서 그 롱하면 그 맞고 춤서 완전 산지 그 레전드 남샤 신기 이치 여기 메가와 빵와라 만데 개와 드발라 만데 잠ኝ제 돈이 또be 시랍 그걸로 퇴송금 마셔봐이나 믹 여기 양을 처음 봤지 버려 대선상 당하랑서 들어 미사지 밭 갑라 치고버 야르제도 로고요 나셈 울루 쪼로 차 마체베기 용아야 달랑 사이주양 냠 저와 메기 셈텔에 도다다 태송고게 됐거라 시가 tetaba shikayoke mangro chin chetala chebe tal rungeke nyanga chimbo tetaba chebe tal rungatele chap tuke chuluk jindala sanchi ba chuluk ma de mebe jemsa khar sanchi chuluk de rikbe jendang tebe jendang mare rikbe tongni dupto go yar tang shuswa rikbe gon sama tongbani chetamji tongni tenjong ba dup tupna 둑투거려. 가르스 두고서 렉바다는 두고. 팅에시지 쳇산도. 되네. 게디 랑돌 잠 닝제. 년중 주시 대반 먹어간가 챔펠 제질로. 태송서 더 갈보칠래 낸된 칸도 망보 돼야다. 초가 망보 따야다. 대신에 초사 디비전기 망보 창사 거장스 망보 베베카가 추치기 찬사 거제치기 that is very light, that's very shallow way of practice. Now we shouldn't practice any kind of dharmic, not for show up, not for entertainment, not for show up, not for reduce just temporary emotion, stress, worry, fear. Not nightclub. Nightclub start quite okay, end up quite fight. So bad smell. I went once. I'm curious. I went the worst smell. All mix up smell. So many different natural bad smell. And chemical perfume smell, everything mixed up, an awful smell. The lights are awful. And humans' way of dancing is very strange. But anyway, good education. Well, we need to learn. Yeah? Also, I took mushroom. Yeah. Pokra mushroom. My friend is Graham. He's there. But he not took. But he guide me. I feel when I took, I already feel it. With the egg, fry with egg. Fresh mushroom from Pokhara. Immediately feel zzz. Then I thought, okay, now I will do something awful things. It's okay, I will not shy, but if I had to do some harmful things bad, so I told to my dear friend Graham, help me. He says, don't worry, I will help you. I know how to. He's quite expert. Definitely, he is at that time in that area. He is the only guru. Yeah. So then he says, yeah. I says, nothing happened. Don't. One of another lady took. She already feel very funny. She says, oh, flower is blooming. It's going in for. Then I thought, look at now. I will do something strange. So I stay near as possible with Graham. The Graham says, don't worry. Some they affect immediately. Some it take time. So don't worry. It come. So I wait. Then he says, maybe you're not moving enough. You move. We play football. Then there's a small for children cottage. Then I lie down. He says, it's coming. Nothing. But already I feel it. When I took, I already feel very strange. The whole body. Even my late father took. It's okay to say. It's experience. My late father is a German student. The French student, very devoted. And he's very devoted and he liked very much to meditate. And before meditate, he take LSD. My father says, don't take LSD. LSD, whatever is fake, a chemical, not good to you. No, it's improving my meditation. It's enhancement. For me, when I take an hour, I can meditate. And then Father says, no. Then what he said, how you know? Smart student. Father says, oh, you're right. But I took similar named Datura when I was child in Tibet, when I was young age in Tibet. One of my teachers gave me a Datura. So I took Datura and how it affects my mind. I know. Then he says, this is not Datura. And Father says, okay, I will take. So he brings small paper. The drug name is Dagon. White, small, there's few pieces. Now who to take? Father Rinpoche says, I will take. Then I says, can I take? Father says, wait, maybe you need to help me. I said, okay, I will not take. Then Eric says, I never took with Rinpoche. Can I? My father says, okay. So father took, Eric took, in France. The father tried to sleep. He couldn't sleep, sweating. Then I went to my room. Eric coming, doing postation very slowly. Oh, so sorry. I never know who you are. You are Manjushri. You have knife. Oh, you have knife. Today I saw the first time in my life. Oh, you holding book. What book that inside? Oh. Very dry. The black one is very big. I checked, the black one is very big. Then go. Again coming here, he had one. Actually, his mind is going in dharmic side is very beautiful. Here, one instance. He invited Pema Samba. Going everywhere. Then I thought, okay, how's father? I went. Father said, I said, how's you? Oh, quite bad in my health. It's sweating. I couldn't sleep. But the drug is very powerful. Then I said, how powerful? You know, if I think Eric has beer, I will see Eric has beer. He says, how powerful this mind. Mind I know Eric has no beer, but I need to think Eric has beer. Then I see Eric has beer. Then he laughing. Ha, ha, ha. So sad, so many people fooling this kind of unreliable. It's drug. We already confused. Why we need to confuse double tipper? Then he says, I think I couldn't sleep whole night. It's strange. So whole night he not sleep. I don't know why I'm saying this. maybe I drink too much. No, point.
It came out of the nightclub. Yeah, you were
Yeah, before that.
Mm-hmm. Before that, you were talking about that. That we shouldn't take Dharma practice lightly and do it.
Lightly. Not like that. Not like that. Mushroom and taking refuge to mushroom and drugs, and thinking it will become good meditation. No. Natural. It's very important. So we need to do practice genuinely, not washy-washy, not for show up, genuinely. So genuine means what? We need to know the point. Here they mentioned in this text inside, explain the point. So now, Kulong motivation is very important. If we have pure motivation, whatever we practice is become genuine. If our motivation is lack, whatever we practice is not that genuine. So motivation is extremely important. Like in Kusang Lame Shanlu, they mentioned one time Geshe Ben. So every day he cleaned his shrine. So then somebody told, today many visitors coming to see you. Then he make his shine a little bit more better than normal. Then he checked, why I'm doing today a little bit more clean, more nice, why? Then he remember, people coming to see me. How ugly my motivation. He took a handful of dust and threw all his shine. When people come, his shine all dust. Then and this rumor went to see one high Rinpoche, high practitioner. This high practitioner says, so many people are doing so many different kinds of offering. The best offering is Geshe Ben's dirt. He put his hand in it. Geshe Ben kit telapak parak kamte chobala torati choba tamja no chok choba.
He said that handful of dust that Geshe Ben threw on his shrine, that was the best possible offering.
Dharma is like that. Dharma, how we need to do practice, pure as possible. So now we, that are in the chode, tea, dorji donjing chitpigo yoba songmare de tekpa chimbatang 대신도 차서 웃음 될 대바지래 대성자 맞주 꼴롱도 자쳐와 장초숨지 꼴롱서 가산 쉬번다시 만당파다냐 마틴친 마틴보체 맞주 남가 타다냐 말씀진 치르도 네 대바지기 삼바디 자쳐와 장초숨지 꼴롱 사바가 꼴롱 타예베 심자 탐지 심실을 중에 대신에 여바 성자 내가 로버 출도기 전에 딥삼마도 심지어 탐지야 산지 공부다 다년바이 심지어 탐지라 당난도 가르쳐 버려 당난도 같이 슈체는 디지게 가지고 닌제다 당난이도 같이 슈체는 디지게 가지고 녀면바 똑바트 막 같이 그래 제단 닌제 근데 봐 잠이지 되게 녀면바 똑소 제단 제라 마시라 내가 짜도 그래 뒤나네 당난이 아고 진짜 봐야나 아주 요즘에 똑소 탐지 나는 망쇼더버드 당 알아서 직생길에 자와 제법 값서 이나라 추 담배 추르버 값서 이나야래 가저도 탁도니 먼저 직생길에 자와 제법 값서 라야 다 마시 보면 영향에 싸워도 가저도 탁도 같이 잠벨링트 차사 단다 디지 초도게 디지 식도게 망투다 무게 망투다 무게 된 내용 계속 가가 찍을 잘 봐요 망투로 되는 무게요 무게를 되는 내면요 됐죠 다 된다 되는 거죠 쉬와침부터 까까 쭉 돼 자와된 가저도 타도 그죠 남이 나라 집어 대보 매바죠 여바이나 딱지 다는 가저 타도 침생을 집으면 맞지 주나 맞아타도. 야 되네 작가 핀처럼 맞아타도라. 나다 나이 잘. 신다 신주 약보 전에 쇠매도. 또 맞아타도래. 대선자 내가 저 상가도르지 티비 최냠술 랑을 잡아라. 랑술 신보라. 랑을 잡아디 질 잡는지 자주 생당. 디강라 매나 매답 당나래. 다양 년중 조시 줄제 내라보여. 진짜를 때는 도중 초시 지야지 내라보여. 잠든 얘기 처음에 든 영투바당 라버도 자시 전주선 냠내데 랑웨 셴 칼쳐와 생시 좋다. 티시라 갈가버. 랍나 랑리 셴 칼쳐와 주고. 타메타마테 랑셴 냠바 생도 거다. 닥셴 냠바 랑신냐 시텔 샤네 자스 찬주스미 냠레 제거라마도 시테 매발 자스 찬주스미 냠레 제 매발 랍 딱베 신체와 나랑 갈중지 신 갈지지 신주 된체발 쪼아지 뽑아지 쪼아지 셈파침보 생테레 신전 쪼발로 세 뽑아침보 쪼아침보 셈코로 찬주 셈빠 자주 쌤 마서도 로가 좀 볼 거라. 진짜 쌤이죠. 사자 랍나 딱배 신죠. 타메타마 딱신냐 봐. 시텔라샤나 냠세 랑고도 다 잠년 자주 쌤디 줄이 제갈 가봐요. 제tom나 람트 유르게요. 람트 야게요. 사다 람트 똑바도 줄이 제 라게요. 전주 첨부 컴포트 내라게요. 이나 깔래요. 대외자 상학 추트 갈가버. 대성서 상학 추트 나라 그 값이나 왕부 양랍 추 쓰셔요. 왕부 양랍 생듯이 왕부 양랍서요 말. 년중 쪼십 약보요게. 무그 다는 주라 매봐요. 빼남 메라라 봐라. 메라라 봐라니까 메라레베게 투그 주디 마르벨 렘버. 멜라르베키 셈캄데 칸데 마르게 하고 대바 타는 주라 매봐요. 여바테 마르베 하고 마르베 하고도 대바 태면 주라 매 되도 메켄주 임바탕 코라 빼 대바 쳐보지 싹바탕 칠루 텔고 조바토 거야. 강가 마르바 하고요. 하고도 칠루 텔고 조바토 보잖아. 거까지 가와 약고지 째 맞도 대바도 다해요 말다. 말아서 나시 원좀 몸시 장바 봉마타 탱카시 제샤베게 멜라레베게 대바도 다 좋아. 딱가와 sut mebe kawachi lusim nil luki kawachangba mari semla ngamtra dunga yor ta dachur mapa losi ngala ti dangma nangmin wang teni phugido ti nana ti te phugido ta nganda bo dikshen yosa mari ta nga shin ma ta yosa mari ta nga rangme chigin tinte tepado sem tinte chilo lep 대가서 내버려. 라메 하고 거 차선 하고도 돼. 까와 째지 버려. 까와 째지. 타마 말밖에 투고 마셔 버려. 까와 첨부 테레 락스 직진이 째 좀나 멜라라바 레부 타불로 쇼네. 탐라 나로 추도도 졸람 차지 좀 공고 말아. 나로 공반 있으면 된다. 얘나야. 공게 레랭이 tot. 틱스 라서. 라손도 되고 미미 롱당로 도바냠네 쳔네 된 졸소 다 대바 당난 네바 간데도 다 등산 된데 영화 깔락하고 대소서 대바 당난 상하 그출 이나야 등산 경험도 대바 당난 제술때 심장 탐지 심지 실을 준이 대신에 여봐 소화도 로브르주 초도 재미 딥상마도 심장 탐지 양 종조로 산지 대가 자지 섬tum나야 당나야 버려 당나 되게 내가 쳐봐요 녀매부 똑소 어쨌다 제가 맞아 차도 내가 짜요 대소자 당낭치 제 예외 신도 예외 제 나바 산지 제서 로로 심장 탐지 년이 체래 제체스 예외 체스 담바 투지진게 진주 여도죠 아주 따검지 바로 예외 체스 신도 예외스 데르다 나라서 촉한 찍는 촉 소등 아주 최전년 제가 최전년 검도죠 근데 내랑 아주 디나랑 아주 다 찍잖아 제동도 당망도 야고 주고 맞죠 디나를 이렇게 라말 로부초 아주 강가 찍지 제동다 다나다 이시디 딱 보지 여봐는 시텔 샤네 티 쳔펠 제제스로네 대타예베 심신 탐실 제동도 다나쳐도 그러마도 시코란 짜와 짜네 매베질 연락질 찍지에서 요하면 제송다 쉬고야 돼 내포순 소바 아네 저런 가쇼 최포순 소바 상하도르지 되베체 코르포순 소바 쳇나 방안에 다니 상하도르지 되베체를 대바다나 요게 다들에 지금 좀 돼요 대소서다 도르지도나 자체와 자주심 짓고는 다 사방 아주 그는 다 마탈베 토네 담배 주semper 나와쇼
Why is it that in this world, even though the Dharma is really the most important thing that we could possibly learn and that which will bring us to happiness, both in an immediate sense and in the long term, why is it that there are not so many people that are really interested in learning the Dharma? Why is that? Well, people are actually really smart. People are intelligent, and people are interested in learning. And in fact, the most important of all of the things that we could come to know is nothing other than the Buddha Dharma. So it makes sense that we should direct our interest and our intention towards learning that. Because actually the sacred Dharma is that which can bring us to happiness, true lasting happiness, not just in this life, but also in the future. It can be of tremendous benefit. And yet again, there are so few people who are interested, not so many people who are truly interested in the Dharma. So we again have to ask ourselves why? Why is it like that actually? Honestly speaking, it comes down to karma. We have to have the karma to meet with the teachings. And in order to practice the Dharma well, we have to have in past lifetimes gathered tremendous amounts of merit to have the karma to connect with the teachings and to really want to practice them. Without having done tremendous amounts of virtue in the past, without having made genuinely pure aspirations, we would not be born into precious human bodies. We would not have attained these precious human bodies that we have if we did not. And if we don't have a precious human body, then it's very difficult to have the circumstances to be able to practice the Dharma genuinely. We're not able to do this. So all of us who have attained a precious human body, it's really important that we rejoice in our great fortune, that we rejoice in the fact that in the past we have done a lot of positive deeds, and we've attained this body which, as it is said, is superior to even that of the gods. That's how this precious human body is described, as better than even the body of the gods. Because if you use it well, it is a ship that can carry you to the far shore of liberation. But if we use this precious human body poorly, then it can be the support for being reborn into the lower realms, into the hell realms. So it's essential that having obtained this precious opportunity, we use it very well, very correctly. We have now a body made of flesh and blood, which we have basically borrowed, right? We've borrowed these bodies from the 5 elements. And eventually we're going to have to return them. We have to give it back, these 5 elements, these bodies, we have to give back to the 5 elements. The coming together of the sperm and blood of our father and our mother and the 5 elements, this is what has brought about these bodies that we have. And these bodies, though, they're just borrowed bodies. We have to return them to the 5 elements. These elements within our bodies will dissolve back into the 5 elements. And so, then what, actually? When we die, if it were the case that it were just like water drying up or a flame being blown out, that would be one thing. But that's not what happens when we die. When our breathing stops, yes, we leave this body behind. The body, actually, the moment that our breathing stops, this body becomes a corpse, right? And a corpse very quickly deteriorates. A corpse very quickly gets swollen and ugly and unpleasant and smelly and something which, if we see it, it makes us want to throw up. It's really gross, a corpse. And so we want to very quickly dispose of a corpse. That's what happens to our bodies when they die. They become a corpse. But we still have consciousness, and that doesn't die. So again, if it were the case that it were just like water drying up or a flame being blown out when we died, that would be one thing. But that's not what happens. That's not what happens at all, actually. We still have this consciousness that does not die. And if, in fact, when we died, it were the case that it was just the end, then the Dharma wouldn't be true. And it would be pointless, and it would be a waste of our time to practice, actually, if death really meant just the end. But that's not the case. Our body dies, but the mind does not die. And we have to take rebirth again. Our consciousness has to be born again into another form. And we don't know what kind of form we're going to be reborn in. But despite the fact that we're not aware of that, the responsibility for that and the karma that brings us to be reborn in a specific form, that's actually in our hands. It's not in anybody else's hands. What body I am reborn into in the future is entirely in my own hands. Even the Buddha cannot choose a nice rebirth for us in the future. Forget about thinking that your Lama can do that for you. Even the Buddha, with all of his tremendous kindness, his great compassion, his incredible wisdom, he cannot select a nice rebirth for us. And so it's really up to us. What we do is going to determine how we are reborn, the birth that we are born into in our future lives. And honestly speaking, this life right now is so short. It just lasts for an instant, just like that. And so we spend so much time, don't we, pursuing things just for this life. Wealth, clothes, some kind of positive circumstances just for this life. And if we only focus on that, not thinking about the lives that are to come, to be totally honest with you, we're not any different from an animal. They're concerned with what's happening right now in this life, right? And if that's all we're concerned with, then we're not any different from them. Actually, even they're maybe better than us. They're pretty good at finding food and, making their lives well out there in the forest. Some birds make even such beautiful nests, actually, really lovely. Drop a person in the forest and we're likely to die. We don't even know how to find food. We don't even know what to do. So in that sense, the animals are maybe smarter almost than us, and definitely perhaps happier, because if they have food and drink and just something to get by, then there's some kind of satisfaction there. That's not so for us, usually. We have so many desires. We want so many things. And when our desires are not fulfilled, then we are sad. We feel unhappy. We suffer. And because our desires are never filled, because we always want more than we have, because we always want something else, then we're not happy. Actually, what brings about happiness is really just contentment. Being content with what one has. If we have that kind of contentment, then we are happy. And that's why practitioners, Dharma practitioners, are happy, because they know how to be content, how to appreciate what they have and to feel a sense of happiness because of that kind of contentment. Many worldly people are not like that. They are not content. They constantly want something else that they don't have, and then they suffer. And then they get caught up in pride and jealousy and hypocrisy and all of these afflictive emotions, and then they're constantly wanting something else. You know, some people, even if they controlled the entire world, it's not enough. Maybe there's another world that I can control, right? Just this constant desire for something more. People are like that. But we have to acknowledge that right now we have an incredible opportunity. We have a precious human body. This body that we have is such an excellent support for practice, and it's very important that we don't waste it, because it was not easy to get. It's very difficult, actually, to obtain a precious human body. And we have to use it well, because if we do use it well, this body can be a support for the attainment of awakening. The state of Buddhahood, in this body, we can do it. So it's really essential that we don't waste that we actually use this very well. At the very, very least, as Buddhist practitioners, at the very least, we need to, once we die, not be reborn in the 3 lower realms. That's like the basic thing that we must, as a practitioner, ensure does not happen. And that's very important, actually. We don't want to be born in the hell realms, one among the 18 hell realms. We don't want to be born as a hungry ghost. We don't want to be born in the animal realms. At the very least, we have to practice so that we can ensure that that kind of rebirth does not befall us. We have to be sure that we don't, that we're not reborn in the lower realms. And if we don't do that, if we can't manage just that with this life, then we have really wasted it. It has been a tremendous waste if we haven't, at the very least, been able to ensure that we won't be reborn in the 3 lower realms. And so that if we waste our lives like that, it would be like with perfectly good eyesight, jumping into a cliff, jumping off a cliff, right? If you're blind, you can't see that there's a cliff there, okay, you don't have a choice but to fall into the chasm or to fall off the cliff. But to have perfectly good eyes and see it and then just jump off a cliff, what a waste, actually. And so for us to know the Buddha Dharma, to trust the Buddha Dharma, and not put forth effort to avoid negative deeds, and not put forth effort to do virtuous things, and not put forth effort to listen to the teachings and contemplate them and train and meditate, that's like jumping off a cliff with your eyes wide open. Do not do that. It's a tremendous waste. These days, if we look around, the outer world seems to have some sort of, there are some kind of positive circumstances. The world, we have some kind of developments that have taken place in the world that make it, in some ways, an easier place to be. But inwardly, really, people are suffering. Our inner situation, our mental situation is not good. People are caught up in so much fear and doubt these days. So much fear, so much hesitation, so much doubt, and falling into the extreme of nihilistic perspectives. And so we have to ensure that we are protected from nihilism. It's really essential. And what can do that is the Buddha Dharma. The Dharma, religion in general, but specifically among religions, the Buddha Dharma has the power, the potential to really be able to protect us against this kind of extreme wrong view. And the reason is because we can follow reasoning and logic. In the Buddhist tradition, there is logic and reasoning. Like I just said earlier today, you can establish emptiness with logic. You can establish emptiness with reasoning. And that is something that's very important and very powerful, because that can allow us to gain a sense, if we establish the truth of emptiness with reasoning and we gain some sort of certainty in that, then we will do what is good and we will avoid what is bad. We will give rise to love and compassion. These qualities will naturally increase within us, and that leads us on a positive path. And it's very important that we do that. This is a really important point, and important points are worth emphasizing. It's not enough just to recite, just to chant. It's not enough just to do some kind of ritual, this kind of ritual or that kind of ritual. We have to gather the accumulations. We have to purify our obscurations. And there are practices like doing prostrations and making circumambulations and so on. These are important. But just doing those practices isn't enough. To think that that's sufficient is really taking the Dharma too lightly. Here, this instruction, this text, the heart of the matter, is a Mahayana practice. And by the way, then this was the point at which Rinpoche told us some nice stories in English. Then he returned to the text, not just stories, also some beautiful teachings. And here, this text, the heart of the matter, is a Mahayana text. And because it is a Mahayana text, then it's important that we bring to mind the appropriate motivation for receiving the Mahayana teachings. So this text is also, again, connected with the view of the Great Perfection, the view of Mahamudra, and the view of the Great Middle Way. Because it's a Mahayana teaching, then the motivation is extremely important. We have to bring to mind the vast motivation of bodhicitta. And what that means is to bring to mind all sentient beings, all mother sentient beings, equal in number to the vastness of space, and think about the fact that all beings have been our mothers and the tremendous kindness that they have extended to us as our mothers. So thinking about all of my mother sentient beings, equal in number to the vastness of space, we should formulate the resolve, I will establish them in the state of awakening. I will establish all of my mother sentient beings in the state of perfect awakening, and that's why I'm sitting here listening to these teachings. That's why. That's the reason that I'm listening to this right now. This kind of motivation we should bring to mind. And then there is the profound motivation of secret mantra. And here we should think about the fact that all sentient beings have as their most basic nature suchness, Buddha nature. It is simply the case that in sentient beings, that Buddha nature is temporarily obscured. It is temporarily obscured by these temporary stains or obscurations. But apart from that, actually, the innate nature of sentient beings is in no way different from that of a Buddha. We are the same in terms of our basic nature. So thinking in this way, we should give rise to pure perception. This is the motivation in the tantric context. And to the degree that we're able to have pure perception towards beings, however strong our pure perception is able to be, to that degree our negative emotions will be reduced. So it's the same also with love and compassion and bodhicitta. As much as we're able to generate love and compassion and bodhicitta, to that same degree our negative emotions will decrease. Love and compassion is very important for a decrease in the negative emotions, but pure perception is extremely helpful for helping us to reduce our afflictive emotions. And there are two emotions in particular that cause us a lot of problems, both in a worldly context as well as in a dharmic context. And this is pride and jealousy. If you look around in the world, what is it that creates a lot of unfortunate circumstances in just an ordinary worldly context? Pride and jealousy. It causes a lot of suffering. It steals our joy. It destroys our happiness, pride and jealousy. And if you look around in the world at the wars that are present, at the the terrible circumstances, famine, war, illness that spreads, and so on, these kind of circumstances, and try and figure out why did it happen? Where did this come from? It actually comes about due to the minds of beings being disturbed through. And again, the root of that is pride and jealousy. Pride and jealousy cause mental disturbance, and that brings about so much pain and so much suffering in the world. If you look at a family, an immediate family, if people are not getting along, why? Pride and jealousy. In the wider community, if people are not getting along, why? Pride and jealousy. On the national level, it's pride and jealousy. I want things to be good for me and those on my side, and if somebody else gets something good, if some other country has something good, then I can't stand it, right? I become jealous of that. So again, these kind of difficulties, these kind of difficult and painful circumstances come about due to pride and jealousy. So here the teachings that we're receiving pertain to the Vajrayana. And if we want to practice the Vajrayana, we have to know how. And the real foundation for Vajrayana practice must be love and compassion and bodhicitta, but also devotion and pure perception are indispensable for Vajrayana practice. Much easier than having devotion and pure perception is being content with what one has, right? So these practices of just having few desires and being content, that's actually easier than the Mahayana motivation of giving rise to love and compassion that's really unbiased and extended towards everyone. That's harder than just being content with what you have, isn't it? To really have love and compassion that is unbiased. In the bodhisattva practices, ideally, you should consider other people as being more important than yourself. Put yourself in the lesser place. That's really hard, actually. It's not so easy to do that. At the very least, for bodhisattva practice, we have to consider ourselves and others equal. If you can't do that, you're not practicing the Mahayana, actually. You're not. So that's kind of the base entry-level Mahayana practice, is to consider oneself equal with others. But in fact, ideally for a bodhisattva practice, the best is to consider others as more important and oneself as less important. To be courageous when carrying out the benefit of others. That's really what a bodhisattva is. Someone who has courage, someone who has strength and courage to accomplish the benefit of others. And so we talk about a bodhisattva as being like a heroic being, right? Male and female bodhisattvas are heroes. Heroes dedicated to the awakened mind. Heroes that place others in the most important place and strive to bring them to the state of awakening. So this needs to be the basis for our practice. And actually, training in love, compassion, and bodhicitta is not so easy to really have unbiased love and compassion and bodhicitta. But if you can do it, then the path is so smooth, actually. The path is very easy. It's very easy to gain the qualities of the grounds and the paths that lead us to awakening. For those qualities to arise in our mind, it's very easy for that to happen if we really truly have unbiased love and compassion and bodhicitta. But even harder than that is the training of the Vajrayana. That's even more difficult. And for that reason, it is said that the Vajrayana is a practice for those students who have the highest capacity, who have the highest faculties. What does it mean, actually, to have the highest capacity? What does that mean? It means to have real, genuine renunciation and weariness with samsara, and to have unchanging faith and devotion, unshakable faith and devotion. So an example for that would be like Milarepa, right? Milarepa had unshakable faith and devotion in Marpa, and Marpa knew. He knew that Milarepa's devotion was completely unchanging, but he also knew that Milarepa had done really horrible negative deeds, and he also knew that Milarepa wanted accomplishment, awakening in one lifetime. And knowing all of those things, Marpa also knew that there was no way for Milarepa to purify all of the negative deeds that he had done without undergoing a lot of hardship. Marpa himself knew that. He knew that very clearly. You know, for us, if we want to purify our obscurations, maybe we do the ngundro a few times, hundreds of thousands of accumulations of the ngundro, the preliminary practices. But for Milarepa, that wasn't enough. And Marpa knew that because he had engaged in such really terrible negative actions. But he had this, he had an unbearable sense of regret for the negative deeds that he had done and a wish to attain full awakening. And all he wanted was to receive these instructions from Marpa. He had so much devotion, so much trust in Marpa, and it was extremely painful. He thought, I'm really the worst possible person. Marpa is giving these kind of instructions, but I can't receive them. He had this really extreme suffering. And Marpa knew, actually. He knew of Milarepa's pain. But he also knew that he had no choice but to undergo a lot of really serious hardships in order to overcome those negative deeds that he had done. And so he gave him, actually, Marpa gave to Milarepa many different very difficult tasks that he had to undergo. And actually, if he had just been able to undergo a few more hardships, it wouldn't have even been necessary for him to go off alone into the mountains and train. to train in the 6 yogas of Naropa, to train in the path of liberation, Mahamudra. That would not have been necessary for Milarepa if he just could have, Marpa could have just put him through a few more hardships, but somehow the karma just wasn't there. There was just some negative karma that couldn't be gotten past, and so after undergoing so many hardships, still it was necessary for Milarepa to go off into the mountains to practice and to train. But he did so with tremendous faith, tremendous devotion, and he achieved accomplishment in his lifetime because he had this kind of unchanging faith and devotion in his guru. He was able to overcome those that negativity through following his guru's instructions and undertaking such hardships. So faith and devotion is that powerful. That's the idea here. Faith and devotion is so powerful. But these days, it's not so easy for people actually to have that kind of faith and devotion. It's difficult for us. So for us, if we could at the very least generate pure perception in this way, think of the fact that all sentient beings have suchness as their most basic nature, and that in fact that basic nature is identical to the state of awakening. It's simply obscured by temporary stains, but because all beings have this same basic state, we are all future Buddhas. So if we can think like that and feel pure perception, generate pure perception towards beings with just based on that fact, that's already very powerful. That's already very helpful and very beneficial for us. When we talk about having a Dharma family, we say that we have kind of like the outer family, inner family, and innermost. And we can say that outwardly, actually, all sentient beings are part of our family, all beings of the 6 classes. The inner Dharma family are all Buddhists because we share a similar view and we share similar conduct. So anyone who is a follower of the Buddha is part of our inner family. But the innermost family, the closest Dharma family that we have, are like us right here, right now. We're all sitting together in the same hall. We are receiving teachings and we're practicing together. This means that we are extremely close Dharma family, and it's really important that we have love and pure perception towards one another. That's very, very important. Having love and pure perception towards one another, towards our teachers in this kind of context, we have to love each other, we have to trust each other, we have to have pure perception towards each other. That's the foundation of being able to generate pure perception. If you can't do that in this kind of basic context, then how would you be able to generate pure perception towards all beings? This is the foundation, this is the basis upon which we can build the pure perception towards all sentient beings. Without the root, how can you have branches? So here we should bring to mind, in the context of receiving Vajrayana teachings, the excellent place. So thinking about the fact that this is an excellent place, a holy place. Here we are just by the Jarung Kashur, the Bodhanath Stupa. It's a very holy place, an excellent place. And the Dharma that we are receiving is an excellent Dharma, the teachings of the Vajrayana. The retinue, those of you, all of you here, you are people who are really have faith and devotion towards the Buddha Dharma, towards the Vajrayana Dharma, and you have pure perception. So the retinue is excellent. So in this way, then, we should bring to mind both the vast motivation of bodhicitta as well as the profound motivation of the secret mantra. And with these in your mind, then, please listen to these Dharma teachings.
Goncho sumji ranshi chanchup sim. Goncho sumji ranshi, sanji ranshi kare chanchup sim. Chuji ranshi chanchup sim. Gendu ranshi chanchup sim. Ngarancho chosa dibjan chesu rik mambo yore. Napa na choba yore. Yena ya cho sasu nalo choktu chorbati chanchup sim. Dibri jontul nane choktu chorbati chanchup sim. 장쇼 쌤도 카점 특점 많이 봐. 니마르레 나라 타네 팅카시 심지어 탐지 대화도 되죠. 잠내지 돈이 도고 싫어지 대바중나 찌차 대바중에 채톰나 찌마로 삼 루치 바부요 맥이 맞죠. 심지어 탐질로 동아나 만나서 봐요래. 동아르게 줘도 차선 모습이 동아르게 줘도 차다 모습 등에 자와르지 채톰나 찌차 제발지 제 토바르 제바 용마르죠 인코 루베 때문에 원에 자지 르치 바베 메케 첨마트네 된데게 자주 따틀라 자주 셈브로 버치서 된다면 자주 셈브로 버치대 니샤 축진다나 타나의 택순장 제통나 소 30몇 잡아 대다게 대바 30몇 잡아 대다게 될 때는 사모동바지 또 두그래 마도 다긴 시합나시 거람만 잡잡잡 르기 거람만 잡 나 칸드만 보데 칸드 되는데도 싫어 마셔 봐지 지금 아버지 돼 생각 랑아 땡지만 보지 공부해서 대 진디 설보 매버지 되네 롱주 그 터네야 지 쳐봐만 보야다 락바르도 다기 쇼바나 처음에 편에 뭐만 보 시기래 처음에 표발을 개와야 할 때 벌써 할 때 봐야 돼 개와냐 가드슈 쳇된다요 말에 처음에 표발을 개와야 버렸대 뭐 시할 때 봐야 대존을 아주 더 나체고 하다 롱다생에 될라 삼로 양보당 것도 다르죠 그 주디 레이 바다 다르죠 그 다음에 아티 짜삭스로 베베 짜삭스 짜이탁 봐 어떻게 있나 그런 레테 라시 그봐 디크레스 차도 짜대 라시 그면 차도 배는 아무다지나 자갈 배율라 보라스게 보라 이배야 보여 등사 플라스틱 시멘트이나 데이터다 룩사가 플라스틱 부투고 저도 매봤어야 하시라 갈라가버려 칸을라고 야래 인바라멘라고 야래 칸을라고 야래 아주 civilized라고 야래 라렌 토런에 친절하셔다 딱게 야래 종합강가 뚝뚝 네 나서 목에 뭐고 별로 이렇게 젠체가 그래서 가가 제 영화께 잡았던 능함천 greedy is very blind. Greed is very blind. So it harming, hurting self and the future generations. 된소 갈쳐버려. 된소야 산지게 쳐게 나라 된소가 차셔리 산지 쳐스게티 디 나라테 만두바다 마사마요 말에.
The nature of the three jewels is bodhicitta. The nature of the Buddha is bodhicitta. The nature of the Dharma is bodhicitta. The nature of the Sangha is bodhicitta. And so we have to keep that in mind, how important and precious bodhicitta is. There are many different ways of gathering the accumulations of merit and wisdom and of purifying our obscurations. There are many different ways. But the best way to gather the accumulations is bodhicitta. That's the best method. And the best method for purifying our obscurations is likewise bodhicitta. But here, I'm not talking about just the word bodhicitta. I mean really from your heart, really sincere, from the core of your heart, generating bodhicitta. If you could, a few times a day, just recite to yourself these words, may all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they have happiness and its causes. So think about the fact, may beings be happy, and may they have the causes of happiness, which are love and compassion and bodhicitta and the wisdom that realizes emptiness. Beings must have the causes of happiness. I will do whatever I can to make sure that they find those causes. I must do it, actually. I will do it. I will do everything I can to make sure that all beings connect with the causes of happiness. And then think about the suffering, all of the different kinds of suffering that sentient beings experience. And think about the fact that the cause of that suffering is attachment and anger and stupidity. And then really feel the resolve, I will do everything I can to make sure that beings are free from those causes of suffering. I must do that. I will do that. They must become free from the causes that bring them their suffering. And I will do everything I can to make them be free from that. So that kind of attitude, if we can bring that to mind, really from the core of our heart, to the degree, so intensely that tears form in our eyes, that the hairs on the body stand on end, really intensely feeling this wish for beings to be happy and free from suffering. That's bodhicitta. And if you can do that, recite those lines maybe 3 times 6 times throughout the day, that's really amazing. If we can really generate bodhicitta in that way, that's an inconceivable way to gather the accumulations. We can gather an inconceivable amount of merit through that, and we can purify an inconceivable amount of negativity through just that. And if we don't have that kind of motivation, just physically walking around, circumambulating things, doing kora, and then on the basis of love and compassion and bodhicitta, we can come to the view of emptiness. We can come to realize the view of emptiness. If we don't do that, and then we just physically, do some circumambulations, do some kora, maybe we recite some prayers with our speech, but we don't even really think about what we're saying, just kind of parroting, reciting the words, and maybe doing some kind of meditation, deity, mantra, samadhi, doing a little bit of meditation, but really not focusing on the real meaning of that, then just making offerings, making an offering like an offering of a butter lamp. Again, we have to think about, okay, the merit that comes, what I just said earlier, how much merit comes from offering a butter lamp, but if I'm doing it in a place where a lot of bugs are going to die because of that, then how much negativity comes from killing those bugs? We have to weigh those things, actually. We have to be careful and kind of intelligent about the way we practice. That's important. And again, like I mentioned before, when we hang prayer flags, we should use prayer flags that are made of natural fibers, cotton, because it biodegrades. And we should use flags that are hung on a string that's made of natural fibers, because those natural fibers biodegrade, not plastic. So when we practice the Dharma, it's really important that we do so intelligently and we think about these things. In the past in India and Tibet, food and so on, it was in containers that were made of clay, like natural substances. Now everything that you buy just comes in plastic. And that plastic doesn't biodegrade. Plastic, chemicals, these things are going to be around for a very long time. So we talk so much about the environment, preserve the environment. We're so civilized. But actually what we're doing is we're using all of these harmful chemicals, plastics, substances that are really harming this world. And that all comes out of greed. The root of all of the use of these things is always greed. And so, these things, these are important. And it's actually part of the Dharma. It's not that this, the Dharma has a lot of aspects. And so talking about this kind of thing is, in fact, an aspect of Dharma practice as well that we should keep in mind.
Thank you. Tomorrow.
So tomorrow I'll get into the text. Today I just talked about all sorts of things, not so much this text, but it's also the Dharma, right? All of those things are Dharma teachings, and they are also beneficial. If something is of benefit, then that's the Dharma, right? If some teachings, some words are beneficial, then that's Dharma teachings.
Okay.
Rajesh Chandra, page 23. Back to page 19, number 20. Gondo be wara jo inde je la ja ja be ta la ba karma ba de be nyambo chodra ganja ja je ja me ja da ba ra be je jo dru be der jen jan zo go le jo dru do jo jo de je le ba ye ren lo jo de go Jebe Raje Jo Demba Jete Kansa Jamba Demba Nyu Shendo Sa Tenzen Pono Shendo Demba Yuren Nebe Trashi